will be fun.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I want to welcome you to this exciting talk. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Linda Phillips. I'm the Executive Director of the San Lorenzo Valley Museum, and we're located in Boulder Creek. And one of our programs is doing a historical talk series. So we tend to do 2, 3, 4 historical talks just like this one, scattered through the year. And I have to say, I'm really excited about this talk. So I just met Polly recently. I'm not one of these old timers that grew up in the valley. But I have known Fred McPherson for a while through events through the museum and so on, and being a member. And he started telling me about 3 or 4 years ago about this group. And he says, we're called the hipsters. And I was like, hipsters? What is this group? Who is it? You know, are you wearing hip hugger pants or what? And so he started telling me about what it was like in the 60s and some of the things that went on and some of the people that came through the valley. And he said, you know, there's this woman, and she spent some time in her teenage years living in a commune in Lomond. She's now living further up north, but she's writing a book about it. And I thought, that sounds great. That is my era, the 60s. And I kept asking, well, what's she writing about? When is it going to be done? What's her name? What is she, you know, what is this book about? And he kept saying, well, he says, I talk to her now and then. And I said, you've got to let me know who she is when the book's done, because I really wanted to carry it in the museum. And then earlier this year, I finally got to meet her. And she showed me the book, and we read it, and it was kind of what you would say a bullseye. And I said, absolutely, I want to carry it in our museum bookstore with our other history books. And I said, I definitely want to have you talk. And I said, in fact, so you can kind of keep your ears open, this is actually the first of a 3-part series that Holly will be doing it. Holly and Eric and Fred. So, but we're spreading them out a little bit. So the second talk will be at the end of February next year. So I am so pleased with Holly and Eric and Fred being our speakers today. And I know you're going to really enjoy what they have to say, because obviously you can't get everything in a book. And I know that they all have a lot to share with you that's not in the book. So without further ado, Holly Harmon, Eric Levine, and Fred McPherson.
Hi everyone. Yeah, that's really funny, because on my end I was thinking, well, do you think the museum in Boulder Creek will want to have my book there? You know, maybe not, I don't know. It's not like all the other history books in there. So that's where I was coming from, and she was wanting to carry it, so that's neat. Anyway, so yeah, let's get started on the journey here, on the talk. I wrote this book. It took me about 5 years to write. Gene Carlson, who was kind of the head of the commune, about 7 years ago, dropped this box of books in my lap and said, here, I mean, it was a box of photographs from Holidays, and he said, here, why don't you write a book? And, you know, all of a sudden I have this huge box of photos in my lap, and I went home. I kind of went online to see if I could do any research. I called the Santa Cruz Library, nothing. I just put it on the shelf for a couple years, didn't think about it. And then one day I said, well, maybe I could start scanning the photos. And I turned over one of the photos, and I saw the photograph was by this person named Gordon Schatz. And so I Zava searched him online, and I found him up near Eureka, California, and I called him and talked to him for a while, and he was really excited, and he said, I have more photos, I have better photos than what you have. And so Eric and I drove all the way up. He lived way out in the middle of nowhere. He's 95% sustainable. The only thing he really has to deal with are the bears, and he's got 12-foot high cyclone fences around his property. But there he is living out there, and he said, you know, going to Holidays was such an experience for me. I wanted to go live out on the land, and here I am. And so it turns out that he was good friends with Eric's cousin, Elliot Levin, who lives up there. So that was kind of ironic. And then, so I went online and I found the Hip History group. And I was like, okay, there's all these people. And I contacted them, and they said, well, you should talk to Fred McPherson. And I thought, Fred McPherson, okay, I'll have to get a hold of this guy. And then one day, it dawned on me, oh, Fred McPherson, he was my biology teacher at Pacific High School. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I went online and saw a picture of him, and I went, yeah, there's Fred. So I contacted him and the Hip History group, and they started giving me some more input. And then my friend Roger, finally they moved all the Valley Press newspapers from Scotts Valley to Santa Cruz, so I was able to access all the newspapers and get the research that I needed. And Roger went down there and he Googled all the microfiche and got all the stacks of information for me. So I started putting it all together. And 5 years later, I have the book done. And then there were 3 films done at Holidays, one by Max Hartstein and 2 by Pierre Sogel. And I was able to get in touch with people and get in touch with Max and get these films and make a documentary. So I did that. And then Eric was also at Holidays, besides me and a lot of other people, and he played a lot of these songs at the Commune. So I did a CD soundtrack of his music from the Commune. So it's a kind of 3-piece set.
That's this one here.
Yeah, that's that one there. And Jerry Garcia plays pedal steel on one of the tunes. Okay, so here we go. All right. Okay, so Jim Warner lived in Ben Lomond, and so did his mother and father and his 2 brothers. And he was friends with Neil Cassidy. And so Neil Cassidy would come through here. He would actually come right over here next door to Boxer Apartments, and I would see him. I've seen him a couple times when he came through, talked to him. And but Jim and Neil were friends, and one day they decided to go up to Oregon to see Ken Kesey, and then they ended up in Seattle at a Catholic church, and they ended up getting a school bus. And Jim was so excited. He's like, oh, I'm going to take the bus back down to Ben Lomond, and we'll have our own bus, and we'll paint it up. And so that's what he did. And so the bus rolls into Ben Lomond. It was kind of an unsightly bus. And it was parked right up here next to Coffee 9. There weren't any sidewalks there then. And it was parked in front of Boxer Apartments. And at the time, Gene and Sue Carlson were living at Boxer Apartments, and they were the ones that kind of spearheaded this whole hippie movement out of Ben Lomond. Before that, the town was pretty much just a redneck town. There wasn't a lot going on with, well, nothing with hippies. But the younger generation who lived here, who grew up here, whose parents lived here, who had businesses here, that's who was here. And so, and then the Valley Press, you know, there's like, what's that bus out there? We're going to go take pictures. So we all posed in front of the bus. That's me right in the front of the bus there. That's the hip set pose. So they did an article on that. And so we, you know, we were getting some good press. We were also getting some bad press. So then the bus was parked out in front, and 2 people were sleeping on the bus, Jim Warner and Bob Seabridge. And there were this vigilante committee started in town, and they were against us. And you know, someone threw some Molotov cocktails inside the bus while those two people were sleeping in the bus. Luckily, they had used Coke bottles, and Coke bottles don't explode. So they just kind of rolled around. They had broken one window on the bus. But the fire chief, Dak Fisher, took the incentive to move the bus to the Ben Lomond dump, and then down to Felton to a repair place. And you know, there was a lot of bad press coming into the paper about the hippies in Ben Lomond, which were mostly kids of the parents who lived here. I mean, you know, we weren't anything foreign, really. So Roger Murray owned the bus. Let me go back here. Hold on.
What year is this?
This was 1967. April of 1967. And Roger Murray, he's in the middle there, the middle picture there. He actually owned the bus. He had bought it from Don Laubner, and Don Laubner had bought it from Jim Warner. So now Roger owned the bus, and he was up in San Francisco. So Jim Genera, the guy on the right there, he called Roger up in the city. He said, hey, they towed our bus to the dump. You know, you got to come back down here. We got to get our bus back. So Roger came back down, and he met with his attorney, Bob Ludlow, in Santa Cruz, and Bob Ludlow said, the fire chief had no right to take your bus. He's got to give you your bus back. And so Dak Fisher says, well, I make you sign a paper, say you'll take it out of the valley. And Roger said, no, I don't need to do that. You have to give me my bus back, you know. So they got Roger's bus back, they repaired the fender and the light they broke, and we moved the bus to my mother's art school and started painting it up all psychedelic.
Tell them about your mother's art school, where it was.
Right. So this was my mother's art school, which is now the AA house over here on Highway 9. That's where the Bridge Mountain School of Living Arts was. And that's a picture of my mom there. She started the school in Ben Lomond, and at first it wasn't really widely received because it was unusual to have an art school in Ben Lomond, and it was drawing you know, bohemian type people into the valley. So that wasn't ideal, but it did get some acceptance into the community. So back to Boxer Apartments. Boxer Apartments had about 7 units on the property there. One of them since has burned down. But over the winter of 1966, a lot of us who were hanging out at Boxer Apartments became really close friends. And more people started coming until, you know, we had all kinds of friends living there, staying there, living near there. And that's when Gene Carlson decided, we've got to find a place where we can have more land, where we can grow food. We really wanted to get back to the earth and have a wonderful place where we could all be together. So a man, I can't remember his name now, offered Holidays Resort. Hold on a sec here. Okay, so there's Holidays Resort Cabins, which is in between Ben Lomond and Felton. And now it's called Holiday Lane, the street that goes down there. You've probably passed it before. So there were about 20 units. So there were some units in the lodge, and there were cabins all along the river with decks that looked out on the river. And there was a lodge with an office. And so, of course, right away, the Santa Cruz Sentinel did a 3-part series on us, Hippies Find Where It's At. And so anyway, we loved this place. It was beautiful. And we had the freedom to put a big garden in. And the rent was $20 a month for each person and $5 a month for food. So you can see communal living can be inexpensive. So everybody, you know, worked really hard there to keep the commune fixed up. There was some furniture left there, and they also added to it. They fixed the roofs, they started painting, really started trying to fix the place up more, and it was in pretty good shape as it was. So we brought the bus down to Holidays, and about that time it caught the attention of the Santa Cruz Sentinel. And here they say, well, the hippies roll into Ben Lomond. Well, we didn't roll in, we were already there.
Well, a lot of hippies did.
Well, a lot of hippies did come. People were torn, were coming in daily to the commune, and we had to actually keep it to about 50 people. Comfortably, the commune could sustain about 50 people. So we were very selective about who came in. Eric's gonna sing a song from them. Really kind of gives you the experience of, try to experience what it was like to be there a little bit. So anyway, here's a picture of people at the commune working. Terry was repairing the roofs with tar paper and sweeping off the roofs and cleaning the gutters, and a few of the guys built a stone fire pit right in front of the lawn, on the lawn in front of the lodge, so that we could cook food on it. And people were just fixing up their cabins and cleaning them and making them really livable. The cabins were very rustic. They weren't insulated. People started putting hot water heaters in for the showers, but they were very summer cottages, really. Also, a lot of people were, playing music and starting to do art, make leather purses and weaving and music and leather sandals, and a lot of arts and crafts kind of started coming out of people being there. And here's a picture of Sue sewing her Indian bedspread dress, and there's a picture of Peaches. She already had her dress all finished. And so that was kind of our signature, was that we would buy Indian bedspread material and sew our clothes out of it. And then we also had a band. We had a band called Spirit, not the famous Spirit band, but regardless, the band's name was Spirit. And they were the house band, and they played electric music in the lodge, like on Saturday nights and after dinner. So here's just a picture of... Oh, yeah, they played music every day. And that's Mike and Sue Swardlow. He was the lead guitar player. And
No, rhythm.
Oh, he was rhythm? Okay, he was a rhythm guitar player. And David Russick was the lead guitar player. So there's just a few band members there. And so Fred's going to talk a little bit about the organic gardens. You could use this one.
Okay. That's good. So, I was not really a member of the commune per se. As Holly mentioned, I was teaching at the Pacific High School, which is a school that we built, the students and staff built up on Skyline Boulevard. It's about 2 miles north of the junction of Highway 9 and Skyline. And right now it's a Zen Center. Anyway, we were up there doing activities at Pacific High School. And as you probably all know, these times were not all just peaceful and living on the land and the hippie life. It was in the midst of a terrible war in Vietnam, an escalation of bombing in Cambodia and Thailand, and people were being drafted, and it wasn't pleasant at all. And so in the midst of all this war activity, Pacific High School was started. It grew out of the Quaker community over in Palo Alto, and it was a really anti-war center. A lot of activities to help the kids that didn't want to get drafted and other people that didn't want to go get involved in that way of life. They were up there at Pacific. And we did a number of things. We had classes that they were very experiential. And some of the students decided to come down to the garden and help out. I know Holly was there, and students would take up classes that were community-oriented or student-based. And so some came down here and contributed. There were also some students that went back, a group of them, to live with the Hopi Indians for a couple of weeks. And when they went back there, they brought back some Hopi blue corn, sacred Hopi blue corn. And so I know that they planted some of the blue corn here in this garden. And you could look at it as sort of like Camp Joy is now, in the sense that people would drop by, they would participate, maybe share in the community, but they weren't real community members. And that's sort of how I was. And so I participated in a lot of the activities and some of the music and this and that. There was a lot of people in the community who were very supportive of what was going on there. And I just want to mention, this was the beginning of organic gardening, at least here. It was an organic farm, organic garden. And it was started just about the same time that the Ellen Chadwick was starting the UCSC garden, and more in the Rudolf Steiner tradition up there at UCSC. But these gardens, these organic gardens, are the beginnings of a real movement to have organic food in our community, which we have an abundance of right now.
What was the garden?
The garden was at Holidays Resort in a big field that was perfect for planting. It actually had sprinkler systems already built in there, and and then out of UC Santa Cruz started CCOF, so it really did kind of stem out of those early beginnings. There was agricultural farming, but people weren't really getting back to the earth and starting to do their own sustainable gardens. And
let me just hold and share this because it relates to the Vietnam War thing.
okay.
You mentioned something.
Yeah.
mentioned the Vietnam War and all that, I had to throw this song in here for you all. Okay, thank you.
That was perfect. Time to put it in there. So anyway, we were growing corn and chard and tomatoes and squash and melons, and we had chickens as well. And then the kitchen at the lodge was quite large, and there was a pantry that was it was really large. It had freezers in there and big refrigerators, so there was lots of room for a lot of food. So there was also a dining area right off the kitchen, and then a huge living room with kind of a double fireplace, stone river fireplace, and a stage. And it was all knotty pine wood. It was a beautiful lodge. Some of the food, Roy's Market would donate food to the commune. He would come down with cantaloupes, and mostly the diet there was macrobiotic at the time. They would make all kinds of macrobiotic bread, a lot of brown rice, but we also would have, you know, nice breakfasts with pancakes and things like that. And here you can see people eating their dinner out by the fire and the food line. I noticed looking at a lot of these photographs that nobody had any shoes on. And I think that was because they didn't really need to. The ground was very soft around at Holidays down by the river there. So people just weren't even wearing shoes anymore.
Talk about how everyone held hands before the meals.
Oh yeah, back where you saw the triangular circle, people would hold hands before the meal, and we would do one long om, and very long om, as long as you could om. And then they would have coordination meetings in the morning as well, where they would all get together and just voice their opinions and what work they were going to do there for that day and different things like that. Whether they should have live electric music or not, which got voted in to have live electric music. So this is kind of going back a little ways. This is a photograph that Eric and I found about a year ago of Eric and I in the San Lorenzo River in 1954. We knew that our families had maybe been at this picnic at the same time, but we found this picture. So we met in 1954, and then fast forward into 1967, we met at the river again. And here's a picture. I just wanted to throw this picture in of the Ben Lomond Dam, just because it's not like that now, and so I thought people would appreciate to see what the dam used to look back like. And I love swimming in the dam. The only thing that I was ever worried about were the eels. Supposedly there were eels in there, and that they might like grab onto your leg and, you know, suck on your leg or something. I don't know. That kind of was a little scary. So Eric's going to play another song. I was just going to say this song is about the waterfall at Holidays.
Tell them about it. I can go inside of it. Tell them I can go inside.
Oh yeah, the neat thing about the waterfall was that you could go inside of it, and the water would flow over the top of your head, and you could see out, and it was a wonderful experience to go under the waterfall and sit there with the water flowing down in front of you.
Like a river flowing by, taking us away. Like a river from the sun, shining above everyone. Like a river on a distant moon, passing by us at noon. As the river meets the sea, is an
Fred's going to talk a little bit about the river.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I was teaching up at Pacific High School, and we had a lot of activities, and it was about 1967, 68, somewhere in there, that Max Hartstein showed up on the scene up there at Pacific High School. He was actually the uncle of one of the kids that went there, Andy Melvin. Remember Andy? And so Max came up with his group of musicians from the 25th Century Ensemble. I don't know if you've heard that group. It was, a few people remember. Anyway, they put on a perfect music session for all the students. And if you don't know about perfect music, it's sort of like a jam session where there are no wrong notes, and you just play whatever you want to play, whatever instrument, whatever song comes to your mind. So it's a beautiful, perfect jam session. And there were some fine musicians that came along with them. People like Pat Visconti and Marcellus Barnes, and Don McCaslin, and Mike Walker. They were all part of the 25th Century Ensemble. You may know some of those people. Anyway, it was a great session. I really liked it. I said, hey, this is my kind of music. And so later on, I decided to move down into Boulder Creek. And we found a place. I moved in here in 1967. And I started going over on Thursday nights for Max would have a perfect music session every Thursday night for years and years. And great music came out of that. And also, that same group of musicians would go around doing benefits for different events. Some were political, some were anti-war things. We did a lot of some events and light shows. Up at UCSC, there were benefits for the garden and the whole restaurant. And we did one at Holiday. And it was a great session. It was recorded, and Max decided, and he actually filmed it. And it's part of this this DVD documentary that's for sale back there. And it's a great documentary of the time and of music, little glimpses of the music, little perfect music. And it was called Beachhead in Paradise. It was about landing the space base, the first base in inner space at Holiday Cabins. So that was a great event. So we had a lot of benefits like that around the community. And eventually the holidays, Holly's going to mention this, kind of came to an end. And I'll tell that story. But as it ended, a lot of other things started. Some of the people, same people that were in Holidays, and same people that were in the community, taking part in the events there, got involved politically in some of the activities here in the valley. They became involved in the revision of the master plan, the general plan, and they changed politics. They became involved with Pat Litkey running for supervisor, and we walked the river as part of that whole campaign, that political campaign. And later on, out of that whole activity, we formed a group called the Save the San Lorenzo River Association. And we did many great things, including, this is kind of the ironical thing about it all, when all this, and Holly probably mentioned this, maybe Eric, that they got harassed a lot going down to the waterfall. And they would phone the sheriff, and the sheriff would come out. He's actually in the movie. The property, their highways belonged to the Nasser family, and they would phone the police and say, get these hippies out of the river. We own the river. We have rights to the river. And so there's a lot of conflict about river rights. Who owns the river? And even to this day, there's still disagreements about that. Who has access to walk down the river, who owns the river? So anyway, we eventually, the Nasser family sold the property to the Santa Cruz Parks Department. And their property now with the waterfall is all part of Highlands Park, which many of you been to. And at the time, we made this wonderful trail guide. There it is up on the street. It was a guide to the riparian corridor and the river, and it was meant to help educate the community about what a beautiful resource we have right here in our own valley, our own community. And it's been used by a lot of people. And Max Harstein actually did the cover. This artwork is done by Max up there. And it was at the beginning of the Nature Trail at Highlands Park. It was completed in 1968, as I remember. So it's kind of a funny, ironical thing that people persecuted for swimming in the water, using the river, and now it is open to public for recreation, enjoyment, inspiration, and education. With that, I want to conclude. I just want to say that I think Holly's book is more than just a book about holiday cabin and hippies. It's a book that really captures what was going on here in our community at that time. It's a glimpse into that period in history, that very important, critical period in history. So I think it stands as a great historical documentary about not only the San Lorenzo Valley, but the whole Santa Cruz Mountains. So thank you, Holly.
Yeah, it's a coffee table book, so it's pretty large, and it includes chapters on the Catalyst, the history of the Catalyst, and the Hip Pocket bookstore, and the barn in Scotts Valley, which was torn down, and the different events that were going on at the time, and the trials and tribulations of being able to keep those places open and out of the courts. So that is kind of some interesting stuff. Okay, let's see, where are we? Okay, well, you know, at the commune, I feel like the energy at the commune was really high spiritually. When we first got the commune, everybody who was there was so happy to be there. And in the three-part series by the Santa Cruz Sentinel, you know, the community strives for enlightenment. I really feel like a lot of people were striving for enlightenment there, and a lot of people were meditating and really doing some inner peace work there for themselves and in the community there.
Yeah, this is Marcel's
Barnes.
He was Dino Valenti's best friend from New York, who wrote that song, Come On People, song. Try to everyone know one another right now. And Marcellus recorded with me at a place in way up north, a recording studio here called the New Old School Studio. He came in and played congas on some of the tracks for my CD here about 6 months ago. Marcellus, yeah.
He's also writing a book right now, which I think will be really interesting. Okay, let's see here. Hold on, let's see, I skipped. Seems like there might be a slide missing. Okay, well, so anyway, the barn in Scotts Valley was really a great place to go on the weekends, and Leon Tabori owned it, and some of the bands that played there were Big Brother and the Holding Company, before Janis Joplin, and then after Janis joined them. And then also New Riders of the Purple Sage. Some of the members from New Riders of the Purple Sage played in a band called New Delhi River Band. And they were kind of the house band. And then the Spirit Band played there. And we did the light shows there upstairs. And it was, you know, it kind of had a floor like the floor here. Just really nice floor upstairs. And they would project the light shows on the white walls. And just there was light show everywhere with the band playing. And they would have the San Francisco Mine Troupe would come in and some other comedy shows. So we were doing light shows there, but we were also doing light shows all around the Bay Area. At the Straight Theater, we did one with
On Haight Street.
Quicksilver Messenger Service, and then we did Steve Miller Blues Band at the Longshoremen's Hall in San Francisco, and we did light show for the Doors down in San Jose. So we did light shows for the Jefferson Airplane both times that they came in 66 and 67. So we would pack up the bus with all the light show equipment with everybody in it, and we would just go to the event and set everything up, and we would do the light shows for and it was really creative working with all the fluid oils and dyes, so everybody from the commune really got into that, and we would take turns doing that.
And UCSC too, all those benefits.
Oh yeah, in UCSC we did the light shows up there, and the person who owned the light show equipment was Dick Smith, and he was a dentist in Scotts Valley, and he was Ken Kesey's dentist. And he was the one who created Ken Kesey's tooth that had a star with little stripes in it that he ended up losing in the Nancy's cottage cheese later on. But he was also my dentist and a great guy.
Talk about the Monterey Pop and the light show there.
Yeah, so our bus, if you ever have seen the Monterey Pop Festival movie, our bus is the bus that's in the Monterey Pop Festival movie, and there's some footage of some of the people from the commune in the movie. So
The morning after.
this was the morning after, kind of the Northern California contingency, the Grateful Dead and the Jefferson Airplane and Spirit and Country Joe. We all decided, forget this Monterey Pop Festival, we're going to go do our own concert over at the Monterey College. So everybody packed up all their gear, and we got in the bus, and the Jefferson Airplane got in their equipment van, and Curly Jim got in his black hearse with the Grateful Dead, and we all went over to the college, and we were driving around the track at the football field, going, yay, we got out of there, we're free, we can do our own thing. And so we had a concert there. Eric played, and Tiny Tim played, and a few different bands played, and we did a big light show there between the goalie posts. And it was a great, great party, and this was the morning after. I was lucky enough to get that photograph from the Monterey Herald. They had that.
Can I say something about the barn real quick?
Yeah.
Please.
Back in the day, at the barn, Country Joe and the Fish used to play there a lot at the barn. And if you go and look at the front cover of their first album, Electric Music for the Mind and Body, that cover is from the barn.
Oh, it's from the light show.
That's the barn.
Right. Yeah, that was the light show from the barn that's on that album.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
So anyway, what happened next at the commune was Gene Carlson had gone down to LA and interviewed with the LA Oracle and told all about the commune, because there were so many people in LA that wanted to get back to the earth, get land, strawberry fields started. So he went down there and did an interview, and then they sent Gordon Schatz, who was a student at UC Southern California, and he's the one with the arrow on the right. He came up, and he's the one who did all these beautiful photographs from Holidays. And but what happened was, once that LA Oracle hit the streets in November of 1967, it brought this whole new crowd of young people, runaways, to the commune. People who wanted to get a free ride, free food, free drugs, free whatever, they came and started taking over the commune. And since the cabins weren't insulated, the people that were there originally decided, we're going to move on. We're going to go find ourselves houses, jobs, go to school.
Tell them when you were in New York.
Oh yeah, so I was 17 years old, and I was in New York with my parents, and we were in Greenwich Village, and I went into this little hippie store, and I saw the LA Oracle on the rack, and I picked it up, and I was looking through it, and there I was. There was the whole article on the Holiday Hippie Commune, which I also put the whole article in the book, so that Gene was interviewed with. It's a good article. And so and there was a guy standing there, and I go, well, this is where I live, you know, or this is where I'm from. And he goes, wow, I want to go there. That looks really neat. Well, yeah, him and a bunch of other people. So all the people left the commune that were originally there, and a new set of younger kids took it over and did not take care of it and did not do much with it.
Yeah, also, even Charles Manson and his entourage had passed through there. I wasn't there at the time, but someone told me
Well,
that
yeah,
even they passed through. So people from LA were like, oh, you know, peace, love, free, you know, let's get out of town with the country.
Well, somebody called me while I was writing on the book. I can't remember his name, but he told me about the story of Charles Manson coming in through Holidays with his entourage, and they ended up he said he wanted a boat, and so they gave him an oar from out of the garage, hoping that he would leave, and he did. He left with the oar. So the bus kind of broke down, and there's Roger Murray. He was the bus driver, pretty much got us around anywhere and everywhere. He said that was the biggest toy he ever had, the funnest toy. There was a lot of adversity going on.
Yeah, Roger's here Roger?
Roger, stand up there.
There's a bus driver with his hand up there.
There's Roger, bus driver. We would take it down to the boardwalk and drive around the boardwalk, and people like, hey! And let's see, I lost my train of thought here. Okay, where are we? Okay, so I think you're going to do a song. Yeah, the bus broke down. Some kids were taking it down to, hold on a sec, let's see, what was the last song?
Living in America.
Oh yeah, okay. So the other thing I wanted to say about the bus was the bus is buried at Holidays Resort, underground. That's where the bus now lives. So Eric's going to sing now.
I'll just change my tuning.
All right. Okay.
Keep talking.
Let me see what I have here. Okay. So, like I said, we were in the news a lot. Santa Cruz, a battle brewing between hippies and Ben Lomond. What was that? Yeah, battle was brewing. Ben Lomond and hippies. This is the kind of stuff that we were having to deal with during that time period. And Gene and Sue, some redneck guys came down to the commune and shot off a gun. It went by Sue's head, and then they started beating up on Gene, and luckily Mike Swerdlow hit one of the guys over the head with an oak chair, and then, we were trying to just be at peace, and we didn't want any trouble from anyone. So there was a lot of other things going on at the same time. With the Hip Pocket bookstore ended up in the courts, and the bus getting bombed by the vigilantes, and so that's the end. Okay, hold on.
Keep talking.
Oh, okay. Well, okay, does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Is Gene and Sue still in this area?
Gene right now is in San Jose taking care of his 100-year-old mother. And when I call up, she acts like she's his secretary. So, that he's there. And Sue lives in Gualala with her husband, and they have a little farm there where they live. And so So they are still with us and doing well, quite well. I met them, 35 years after Holidays, and we went up to their property, and that's when he gave me the box of photographs. He's also interviewed in the movie from today. We got him to do an interview. Yeah.
Was there any kind of stipulation about people moving onto the land?
There was.
How did the residents respond to that?
Well, pretty much when you came down to the commune, they, checked you out pretty well before they decided whether or not to accept you into the commune, because they didn't want just runaways coming and taking advantage of it. They wanted people that really wanted to, be part of the commune and be an integral part of making it work. So they were pretty particular about who came in.
We can make this world better. The 60s we tried. Seemed like it was for nothing. But all of us soldiers had to die. The media reported to the public. He said, this is where we're at. I swear to you, the people, our lives were nothing like that. Living in America, the government takes us over. We're behind the wheel. We're stranded by the side of the road. Everybody wanted freedom. The feel-good goes all the time. But the politicians thought they were better. Make freedom a crime. Living in America, living in a crime. We're all running after money. We're running out of time. We stood in the crowd together, living in a world at peace. But now that world is shattered, replaced by one run by police. We can make this world better. The 60s we tried. Seemed like it was for nothing. And all of those soldiers had to die.
So anyway, in May of 1968, the supervisors sent in the people to inspect the Holidays cabins and found that some of the septic systems had failed. So they did red tag some of the cottages, but some of them were still viable. So people had until November to, pack up everything and leave. And after that, I think pretty much they burned the cabins to the ground, which is a shame because the cabins were in pretty good shape. They were pretty new.
Structurally sound.
They were structurally sound, yeah. But the fire department, yeah. And it's probably, yeah.
Along with the bus being buried there also, they wanted to bury the memory of people being that free and high.
Yeah, I think once they cleared all the cabins out, they had a backhoe there and they dug a great big hole and somehow, I don't know, forklifted into the hole and buried it.
And Roger, could you mention about it was all this time, I think it was doing lectures, it was still registered to the Catholic Church up in Seattle or something?
All the times that we had it, the Warner had it, and Don and I had it, it was still registered to the Catholic Church.
They never went down to the DMV and changed it. So that's it, yeah.
Do you know anything about that hippie bus that used to be parked by the Felton Post Office for a couple of years?
Somebody told me there was one parked over by the repair shop. I don't know if that was the same one or
It was
not.
there for quite a while.
Was it?
All decorated,
Really?
barrels of water on the side,
Really?
no offshore drilling.
Wow.
Start the engine and smoke would be all over town.
Oh my God, when was that?
The lady wants to speak.
Quite a while ago.
Okay, yeah.
I want to thank you. We found your book and all the stuff at the bookshop Santa Cruz. And
Oh, yes.
we just read it completely. My husband, we saw the CD. I really want to applaud you for your effort.
Well, thank you.
And I was doing the same thing on the East Coast, but I moved here in '79.
Uh-huh.
But I really want to thank you. But I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that Bridge Mountain School, because I never heard about that.
Yeah, Bridge Mountain.
And where was that on Alba? I lived on Alba.
It was pretty far up on Alba.
Western. So Western.
Western?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Western,
it was Western. It burned to the ground in the 70s.
in the 70s.
Yeah, but it was a beautiful big lodge with fireplaces on both ends and beautiful floors. And it was a center where you could really go and be very creative and really improve on who you
Yeah,
were.
it just sounded so magical. And
Oh, yeah.
you had such an unusual childhood and teenage, it's just really thank you.
Oh, you're
Very
welcome.
much.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Hi. I used to stay up here during the summers in the early 60s, and when my family would take a trip down to Santa Cruz, there was this big billboard, and I believe it was near Highlands Park,
Uh-huh.
kind of the entrance of Highlands Park, and it was painted all hippie looking.
Yeah.
And I remember that for years. Did you guys do that?
Yeah, I painted that with my friend Little Carol, and it was up there for, a little while, and then it was stolen.
Oh, yeah, 'cause I remember one year we came and it was gone, and I was like devastated.
Yeah.
I just remember when we drive by it, I would always look for it. And I go,
Oh, yeah.
I go, ooh, I was like 8 or 9 years old. Ooh, hippies live down there.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it was actually the old Holidays Resort sign,
Oh.
and we just painted over the top of it and put it back up.
When I was thumbing through your book, I was hoping to see a picture of that.
It's in there.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it.
Or it's in the movie.
Oh, okay. I'll
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
If you could do it all over again, would you have changed anything? Would you have tried to kind of keep the new wave from coming and circle the wagons a little bit? I'm just interested.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020, so.
I know. I wish we could have, but it seemed like it was the whole energy of that era. Because even, the Haight-Ashbury in 1968 started going downhill, and, the whole drug thing changed, and so it was just, seemed like it was happening the same everywhere.
I mean, like, we used to sweep Haight Street and there's apartments around the Haight where, people from all over the United States and the world, and the way they were coming, merging onto Telegraph Avenue in Berkeley and Haight Street in San Francisco, and these apartments that were just vacant and preparing for the runaway, kids were flocking into San Francisco, had a place to stay. And then when one thing, I mean, we wanted to get out of the city, get back to the land, and that was part of why all the rock bands moved to Marin, the Dead, and a lot of the other ones, and speed and heroin had come in onto Haight Street. You know, when it was pot, everything was fine. When it went from cannabis to those harder drugs, and the free love thing, there was a lot of, I mean, men who figured, oh, you know, this is free pickings here, you know, it just, the family, the Dead and all of us, I mean, you know, the openness and everything, something changed, and not only did it change on Haight Street and everything, too many people came in and like I said, with the wrong drugs, it changed the energy, and that was the beginning of the end for Haight Street and for
Holidays. Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, I missed it.
Oh, no, you didn't, is it?
No, I said I just got here.
We'll sing some more. We'll sing some songs.
I was in a hippie commune in Hawaii at Haiku, Maui. This Portuguese man gave us a banana farm. But I missed your presentation, brother.
Let's still go on for a minute.
I wanted to congratulate you that you're a happily married man and woman now. You're not living in sin anymore.
Well, we re-met.
Austin.
Yeah.
Austin, how about sitting over there?
Hey, do you know about the commune? So that you get about the communes in Maui. Did you know about the one?
Taylor Camp?
Taylor's brother, Taylor Camp on Kauai on the farm.
Yeah, I lived there for a while.
Oh, you were at Taylor Camp?
Yeah, I met Elizabeth Taylor and Rod, Eager boy. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, you did.
I have to sit down and let you
So any other questions?
You just said in the end. But
Yeah.
What's the commune there?
There, you know, I think we got the land in April of 1967. I think we moved in May, and then it went for a year, about a year and a half. Yeah.
did you buy the land?
No, we rented the land for $500 a month. And so we needed to have a certain amount of people there paying $20 a month to get the rent to what it needed to be, yeah.
Is the land where you live, is it located now what we know as Highlands County Park?
It's next door.
Next door to there?
Yeah, Holiday Lane.
Holiday Lane?
Yeah, it's no longer there.
What's Holiday Lane?
It's a street that goes off of the main Highway 9 here.
Just south of the park.
Yeah.
South of the park.
There's houses there now. Yeah.
It's a pretty high rent district now, isn't it?
Probably.
What happened to the Lomond Dam that you talked about? You said it was gone.
Yeah, they just recently they took the dam out.
Why did they do that?
It's the Fish and Game did it because of same thing at Junction Park and Boulder Creek. Has to do with the fish being able to go down
And spawn.
Spawn in the stream. So they're not allowing any damming along the river.
So what did they do when the dam was there? What did the fish do?
That's another whole story.
Yeah, that's a whole nother talk.
Yeah.
All right. So, please.
I'm just curious, the owner, where was he in all this when you got red tagged and then they burned it? What was up with the owner of the property? Was he?
You know, I don't know, but I know that happened in about November of 1968. And I don't really know.
Was he like an absentee owner?
No, he wasn't an absentee owner, but he probably went along with it, and then he probably sold the land and made money selling the land. Yeah.
I'm curious about this, I don't know for sure. Is there any connection to Gumby?
My stepfather is the creator of Gumby. Yeah.
Now, rumor is that is that true or not?
I do Gumby's sister's voice. Yeah.
There was a main guy, she did
Hi, Kevin.
all the books that they walked into in the gummy series.
I did a lot of the backdrop murals and some of the books and sets. Yeah.
I think they want us, okay, one more, two more. Okay,
Did any of you move on to other communes, or did you all just kind of disband?
Eric did. He moved on to another commune.
yeah, there was one called Long Beach Ranch, and Timothy Leary was up there. All the people from Millbrook came to our ranch there, and I moved to that commune in about 68.
And he took some of the Holidays people with him.
Yeah, some of the band members
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, first of all, because as a resident growing up in this town, you took me back to a special time. And flipping through those pictures and seeing so many of those faces again was just awesome. And then remembering the bus up on the side of the highway, knowing Jim Warner, seeing pictures of Jim Genera, who unfortunately we lost at such a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brought tears to my eyes to just go back to that time. The feud, I lived, or down the road from me was one of the fire commissioners, and he was always cursing under his breath about those damn hippies hopped up on that pot.
Yeah.
And the fire department, of course, every business in town, since it was a volunteer fire department, they were members.
Right.
They had their own little group. They were not into hippies. I had long hair, and I was a kid. I'd go in the supermarket. That Lomond Super back then had hardwood floors, not what's there now.
Yeah.
If I was with my parents, not an issue. If I went in by myself, I was booted right out because I was one of those damn hippies.
Right.
And the tension was just crazy.
Yeah.
But eventually people started to get it, and then by the early 70s, Lomond was known as the mellow hippie town.
Boulder Creek were the loggers.
Right.
But your book, thank you for writing it and piling all that stuff and taking me back and bringing back people that I had long forgotten.
Oh, great. Thank you.
all the long 5 years of effort that Holly stayed over a computer and putting it all together and self-published, it's all been worthwhile to just hear what you just communicated. If she rang a bell with you like that, it makes it all worthwhile. It brings tears to our eyes when we make a connection like that because of this. Thank you.
I enjoyed.
Love you guys. Thanks for having us.